people were ready to kill each other because they needed to survive.
But is it truly living? Is it free? That's called limiting, that's called suppression, that's called choking human freedom. Okay? This is what freedom represents. That's why we are against this.
Debate of teachers. Yes. Thank you very much, people. I'm so sorry. It was not my idea, Abdulmalik's idea.
Now we're going to welcome the first speaker from the mentors team, and that's going to be Mr. Murodjon.
Those who deny freedom to others deserve it not for themselves. Abraham Lincoln. This powerful quote reminds us that freedom is one of the most important gifts we can have. It's about being able to live our life on our terms, to make our own choices, to follow the dreams without being unfairly stopped by others. Now, let's first think about freedom in a simple way. Imagine you are playing in a park, in a big park. Freedom means you can run whenever you want. You can climb trees. You can swing as high as you wish. No one is there to tell you, don't do that, don't do that. You are free to do your jobs. That's because freedom gives us the power to explore, learn, and grow. The question today we're debating on is, which is more important, freedom or security? And I believe, with our team, that freedom is a key to living meaningful and fulfilling life. Without it, even the safe place is like a cage. Imagine a bird in a cage. It has the food to eat, it has the place to live, but we're restricting its ability to fly. So flying is the core ability of a bird. So we are restricting it. Throughout the history, from American Revolution to fights for human rights, everybody has fights and wars for freedom. And why do you think they are risking their lives, their everything for freedom? That's because they understand how important it is. That's because freedom gives life meaning. It's what allows us to dream big, speak our minds, and of course, shape our futures. The opponent team, they will argue that security is more important. And I understand that. But true definition of freedom is that true security comes from having freedom. When we're free, we find solutions to our challenges, to our problems. When we are free, we can build systems and communities that protect us and support us. That's very important. Because without freedom, even the safest place is like a prison. Take the example of innovation. Mind-blowing, world-changing innovations like phones, internet, modern technologies in medicine. They are all made by people who are free to think, to ask questions, to try the difficulties and problems. They can try that. They are not limited. They are free to do that. And now, my name is Murodjon Aliyev, and I am being the introduction maker of the team, Mentors. With due all respect to the team of Falcons, now let me introduce my team. Our team is supporting the idea of freedom, and our first body maker is Mr. Dior. He is the head teacher of Maxim Gorky branch, and he is the IELTS instructor who's been making one of the most results. The second body maker in our team is Mr. Mike Nixon. He's the one who speaks no other language than English. He's the one who's been teaching beginners to IELTS level students only using the target English language. And the last speaker from our team, Mentors, is Firdavs, Usman from Maxim Working Range. He's the one and he's famous for his jokes, charisma, and all his jokes in his style. Alright, and today I hope you audience will be supporting our team with your claps at time and with your noise that you make after our body makers make their speech. Last but not least, freedom is the foundation of all good. Without it, we are nothing but shadows of who we could really be. Thank you.
Okay, next person on the stage from Falcons team, Mr. Abbos. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Abbos. Look at the fans of Mr. Abbos.
More like higher. Can I start? Better, right? You can hear. So let's go. What is the use of freedom if you do not have the principle to exercise it there? Assalamu alaikum everyone, dear audience, dear judges, dear my teammates, and dear professional teachers of Rizal School. Today we are discussing which one is more important. Like security or freedom holds more importance. Today it's one of the most controversial topics that we are discussing. Not only we, even in the USA, in Europe, they are discussing this topic. Today we're having this and then we're debating at Rizal School. So the first one, look, let's go. First of all, I have to explain actually what is freedom and what is security. Let's go. Freedom is actually what? Is it condition or is it right? It can be both actually. It's a condition or circumstance. We can say that you can feel yourself free and you can express your opinions freely. And actually it's about like thinking, and also it's about freedom of thoughts, freedom of ideas, freedom of situations, freedom of thinking actually, freedom of speaking, freedom of speech actually. And then look here, without being controlled, without being limited, what does it mean actually? There should be no one or no situation, nothing that limiting you to say anything that you think, believe true, it's actually true there. And then when it comes to security, security means protection of people, protection of buildings, protection of organization, even the protection of the country is called their security. Today we have the scope of security. So we're talking about the first one, like security of people, which is very important, which is why actually we are living here. And the security of buildings, which is why actually we are safe here. We have the walls, at least the windows here. We are feeling safe because of cameras as well here. And the security of organizations, which means that data, personal information about the country, about the organization. For example, let's take the example of Rizal School. We have our own IT system where our personal information is kept, which other people from outside external factors cannot disturb or cannot steal the data about that actually. And then when it comes to the country's safety, actually, it's about crimes and foreign attacks. Even they can avoid the potential harm that may come in the future. It's time to introduce my teammates and also myself. I am Abbos Aminov, an English teacher at Rizal School. Today I am the introduction maker of the team Falcons. The first body speaker, being the most argumentative, being the most fun, being the most hardworking teacher at Integral Branch, Mr. Behruz. We are not limited to reading or watching videos about other countries. We have one speaker who has spent 17 years in the USA. He will share his experience living there today with us, Mr. Salohiddin. The last speaker, the conclusion maker, being the wife, being the head teacher, being the the alpha male of Rizal School, Mr. Abdulmalik. I want to conclude my speech with the quote said by the president of Singapore, who has changed the country by 90%. He once said, "A hungry man doesn't see freedom; he just sees food." That's why laws and rules, structures are important for any country, for anyone. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker from Mentor's team, Body 1 speaker, Mr. Dior. Stage is ready for you.
Imagine a bird trapped in a cage. It's secure, it is safe from the predators, from the wind, from the rain, from the snow. But is it truly living? Is it free? A bird's purpose is to fly, to explore, to see the world, to sing. But without freedom, none of the most, even the most secure situations can actually be meaningless. And the same is with us. Freedom, a simple word, yet it has the power to ignite revolutions, inspire movement, and shape the foundation of our lives. It is the air we breathe as individuals and the lifeblood of societies that grow. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dior, and today I stand here to argue that freedom is the essence of our humanity and the path to a better future. It is not just the right, it's the responsibility we owe to ourselves and the future generations. To support my position today, I'll focus on two key arguments. And one of them is related to history. History has repeatedly shown the societies strive that where freedom is prioritized, and the societies where the freedom is limited often go to stagnation and collapse. Consider some of the most powerful empires, the Soviet Union, the Ottoman Empire, even ancient Rome. These empires failed in part because they suppressed individual freedoms and stopped innovation and silenced unfairness. Forbidding citizens to criticize the government in the Soviet Union, resisting adopting modern technologies from the European Ottoman Empire, and the lack of economic opportunities for common citizens in ancient Rome. Aren't these examples enough to understand the main reasons of the collapse of these big empires? On the other hand, moments of progress in history are often tied to the pursuit of freedom. For example, in Renaissance, when Renaissance flourished, it mainly happened because of the individuals who had the freedom to speak, to explore new ideas in art, science, and technology. Similarly, the revolutions throughout the history, like fight for the independence in many colonies, happened because of the freedom that inspired the people to work towards a better future. The lesson is clear. Freedom allows societies to grow, innovate, and adapt. When people are free to think, express, and create, they build stronger and more resilient communities. Without freedom, societies become stagnant, unable to respond to new challenges and embrace progress. My second argument is related to security being abused. I truly believe that security is important. It can easily be misused, however, to control people rather than protect them. When too much focus is placed on security, it often limits the freedom and creates unfair systems that harm individuals. Let's take some of the examples. Imagine being in a school where everything you make is constantly monitored. Cameras are following you everywhere, your personal chats are checked. You're punished if you express an opinion that doesn't align with the rules. At first, it might seem like everything is for the safety. But over time, it will start to feel like your voice doesn't matter. You're not allowed to basically do whatever you want, but you're allowed to follow the rules. This is how security can go too far. It stops being free and it stops being about protection. It more becomes about control. Take social media as another example. Many apps nowadays track everything we do, what we watch, where we go, and even what we buy. All in the name of experience improvement and the private security we have. But where does the information go? If it's misused, it can invade our privacy or even be sold to others without our agreement. It's like having a diary that someone reads without your permission. To make it clear even better, to make the point even clearer, I'd like to tell you about one situation that happened in the USA. One day, one of the big supermarkets of the USA, who regularly gives different postcards to the clients, sent one family a postcard offering discounts. In the discounts were for the people who have infants, for the people who have children, like diapers and others. What is interesting, this family only consisted of a man, elderly man, of a woman, and their daughter, who was 16 years old. The man definitely decided to complain, because in this family there was nobody who had infants, who had newborn children, but the discount was given on them. The guy decided to go to the company and complained. He complained that in our family we don't have children, we don't have newborn people. Why you're offering these discounts? The company apologized and asked the person to go home. After a week, one person from the customer development of the company supermarket decided to visit the place with a cake as a sign of apology. When they visited, they were surprised. The man said, the person said from the company, we truly apologize for the situation and we want you to get this cake as a sign of apology. But the man said this, he said, I need to actually apologize because the situation that you gave me, it actually opened this thing because yesterday we found out that our daughter was pregnant without their parents' allowance and their basically awareness. This situation clearly proves that the information that we have around in the big data, which is controlling us every day and all the actions is so powerful that we cannot get out of it. And it's all about security that usually they get signed when the situation is happening. But I'll tell you the point here. The scary thing is not about the situation itself. The scary thing is that this situation happened in 2002, 22 years ago. If 22 years ago this situation happened and it was normal, I think we shouldn't get surprised when we talk about something on Instagram and we get the advertisements right after that. Why I'm telling this all, guys, is the point is that security can be a good thing, but it must be balanced. When it's abused, it can make people feel controlled, powerless, and even untrusting of those in charge. True safety doesn't come from controlling everyone's action. It comes from letting people be free to make their own decisions while still having fair rules in place. So while security matters, freedom must be always coming in first place, and it should be the foundation of trust and fairness. As Maya Angelou once said, the caged bird sings of freedom. Free birds fly. Let us not just sing about it, let us live it. Thank you very much.
We have a question.
Oh yeah, questions please.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Dior. So I just want to ask you a question about something you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned lowering the measurements of security and the control at schools. However, justifying for the lowering of the measurements, how can you justify the school shootings?
Could you come again? I need to get the question well.
Arguing that we must lower the security and control measurements in schools, how can you justify school shootings happening nowadays?
Did I mention?
You did.
No, I'll clarify. So my point was about getting too deep into the security. It was getting too deep into security, so people are going to feel controlled overall, and they're going to lose their freedom. That's what you mean as lowering the security?
In
At schools. Okay. And then the second part of the question was?
How can you justify the school shootings that happened because of not
Shootings, you're saying.
Yeah, shootings.
How can we justify school? Yeah, I got it. I got the question now. I need time for discussion.
Lowering the school measures of security and control, how can you justify the school shootings?
Got it. So we need to understand that the world is not perfect, and shootings happen every so often in almost in all situations. We need to consider shootings as one of the things that happen regularly, no matter what level of security you're going to have. I'll give you a very good example. Let's imagine, guys, securing things or people fully. Let's imagine we're going to secure the schools fully. Do you think that shootings are not going to happen anymore? I don't think so, because let's take one of the examples, famous examples of the U.S. presidents who were shot. You think their security was not enough? Overall, we need to understand that security of the presidents are so strict that even they get shot. And we need to understand that at school that happens is, I wouldn't say a normal case, but that happens every time, no matter what level of security you're going to have. And we need to understand when you're going to make it fully secure, there is a chance that some of the people are going to be anyways doing it. And it's, I think, better to give them freedom. So they're going to do it less. Because anyways, if you're going to make them fully controlled, the number of rebellions probably are going to be more than the basically shots. That's my answer. Thank you very much.
From Falcons team, we are welcoming body one speaker, Behruz. Mr. Behruz, let's welcome. Making a firing speech.
So before I start, I just want to do something. Will you feel safe if I start walking around like this with something in my hand? What do you think? What is this in my hand? This is a knife. And having the freedom, I have full right to carry this around everywhere I go. everything I do, and I can start, pointing at people and start poking them. Do you feel safe? I don't think so. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Behruz, and I'm a Buddy One speaker from the team Falcons. And today's debate is about the security or freedom in the world. And the first argument I'd like to present to you is about the instinct of survival. If you guys know what is a survival, you must understand that every individual is ready to survive, to do anything they can to survive. For example, if you look back in the history, you can easily understand that people were ready to kill each other because they needed to survive. For the meat, for the house, for the equipment, whatever else. So people were ready and are still ready to do anything it takes to survive. And providing the freedom as our opponents fight for and argue, we will just increase the level of those killings, and then we'll have the situation of people killing each other, doing any harm they can to each other just to survive. And this all will happen because of lack of security and, increased freedom. And another thing I'd like to tell you is that the word chaos. Chaos came out from the conditions where there is no control. So imagine a world without the control. Chaos. Welcome. So next thing I'd like to tell you and I'd like to talk about is political part and political aspect of the world. If you guys are aware of the politics, if you are at least a little interested in the history of politics and the government systems, you must know that almost every political movement was to provide security and to keep people from killing each other and, from harm. And I just want to mention one of the philosophers and politicians in the history whose name was Thomas Hobbes. Thomas Hobbes was a person who made a huge impact in the development of the republics today, of the governmental system today. And he once said, the life without any regulations would be solitary, poor, brutish, nasty, and short. The lower people will have control over the big people and vice versa. And because of that, every politician that understood the world concept was fighting for the security, for the government, and well-structured governing. And I just want to tell you another thing. Philosophers and politicians and everybody in the world, they claim and they can justify that everybody let free is egotistical and self-centered. What does it mean? Imagine a case. You're offered power. You're offered a power over someone. Wouldn't you like it? You might say no. I wouldn't take it. It's bad. However, you will have this desire inside of you. You will have this desire to take this control, to have this power over somebody else, just for your own advantage. And that's just human nature. And in the history, based on the speech of our opponent team, they can do a research, they can read, and they can watch videos. So I would recommend you to watch videos or maybe read books from the politicians in the history who were arguing for the government and who were supporting the idea of securing the people instead of letting them the freedom. And the third thing I'd like to tell you is cultures. Do you know that the world is full of cultures, right? However, there are dozens of cultures you are unaware of. Do you know why? Because in the past, where their security was lacking, the cultures that wanted to have the power killed the other cultures. So they killed ethnicity, they killed the people, they killed the whole nation just to have the power over them. And because of that, they disappeared. The cultures disappeared. However, there are good examples of cultures and countries providing the security and securing their governments and keeping their culture alive. The great example would be Japan. As everybody knows Japan, right? The key point in Japan, and the thing that everybody knows, is that they stick to their culture as much as possible. If somebody's interested in politics, you know what is conservatism and the conservatist theory. And in this theory, Japan sticks to it pretty much. And because of that, we now have those Japanese cars, Japanese people, Japanese culture, Japanese, people securing and preserving their culture. And Japan has deeply rooted cultural traditions. For example, you go to Japan, you will struggle a little to find somebody who speaks a different language than Japan because they respect their own culture and they protect it. They secure it. And another highlight of security could be the technological advancements. The Japan sticks to the technology, only sticks to the technology that helps them to preserve themselves as a culture, as a nation, and as a country. And they have those disaster prevention measures, they have this earthquake-resistant infrastructure, and all of the other technological advancements that help them to prevent their culture. So do you still think that we must be free and we must, stick to the freedom and do whatever we want? I don't think we do. And at the end, I just wanted to tell that the world is better when it's secured, not let free, because of the occurrence of chaos if we let everybody free. I think that's it. Thank you all. Thank you.
Okay, welcoming the next speaker, we would like to give the stage to Mr. Mike Nixon, body speaker number 2 from Mentors team.
Thank you, people. I would like to tell you that the more security you have, the less freedom you have. That is why don't you let people do whatever they want, and why don't you fly wherever you want, my dear Falcons? Sorry about that. It came out naturally. Okay, my name is Mike Nixon, and I'm representing the Mentors team. And to be honest, I was sitting there and listening to my opponents talking and shouting. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to speak in a quiet and natural way. So, as the quote goes by Nelson Mandela, for to be free is not merely cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. So to this point, I would like to introduce my two main ideas, which are: security without freedom is meaningless. If you have pure and full functioning, let's say, security, you might have drastic period of people's being chained in all their meanings. Living in a security but oppressive society undermines the quality of life. And just give yourself a question. How many countries in the world have freedom? I do believe there are more than 230 and plus countries who have freedom, and they fight for that. Have you ever heard of a term, we're fighting for security? But I do believe that everyone heard of the term, we are fighting for our freedom. The people always value the ability to express themselves freely without having any pressure and without being too much secured. So that's called freedom of speech. To mention more, when you have freedom, this allows, and this is like a fuel for innovation and the progress. When people are free in most of European countries, and let's take America, they are letting themselves in the immense progress in any aspects of our life. Unless in countries where there is no freedom, you can witness that they are coming across with lots of obstacles which are not letting them progress at all. Okay, let's stop with this. I'm gonna do the rest of my speech with the audience. Guys, I will say 1, 2, 3, and you will answer to my question. Do you feel that you're free? 1, 2, 3. Excellent. That gives a lot of point. And actually, we are living in the Republic of Uzbekistan. This is free country, and we can say whatever we want. You know, but actually, this is a free country, and we fought for this freedom. If you really think about it, any person that is here, did you come here to this event with some difficulties, fighting with others, with your securities, or you came with your free will in a free, little bit paid Yandex taxi? So, is that true, or you were dragged by some certain frames of security? Please answer yes or no. No. Excellent. So I would like to ask some questions, and I'm going to pick just a random person in the audience. Mister, you look very nice. No, I don't even know who's this guy. I don't know. Like, I'm just going to ask a random question. Could you stand up, please? You look really outstanding with this suit. So, do you feel that you are free in this country?
Yeah, I'm absolutely feel myself freedom. I'm absolutely feel the freedom in this country. Absolutely.
And the second and the last question, to make my points clear to my opponents, where are your securities?
To be honest, I haven't got any security with me, because the freedom is the only thing that makes me feel happy and that helps me to live on this earth.
Thank you. Thank you very much, people. But that's not all. Oh, shit. This is for the camera. Okay, guys, to conclude, to sum up, actually, once John F. Kennedy, if you know who's John Kennedy, of course you know, the best road to progress is the freedom's road. So I urge everyone to feel free to express their opinion about today's wonderful debate, this challenge, this outstanding fight of words, which we're having right now. Thank you very much, everybody. You have a question?
You talked about, for example, you mentioned to the dear crowd here about how you were referring to freedom, right, in this country, and how people were able to come here because of their freedom. But what do you make of the fact that we have certain freedoms because of the security, because of the police force, because of the armed force of Uzbekistan? Nobody comes in and takes our freedom, right? And due to that security, we have a certain aspect of freedom. What do you make of this?
Let us discuss.
A few moments later.
Could you repeat your question, please?
Right.
That was a Nigerian accent.
And that was an Indian one. So, essentially, Mr. Mike, you talked about freedom, right? In this country, how thanks to, well, obviously not something that you said, but something which I said, thanks to, the armed forces of Uzbekistan, thanks to the police force, and everyone who works within the security system to secure our freedom, right? You were mentioning about how we are free here. This is what I'm essentially adding to you and asking, what do you make of the fact that only with the proper security, only then is freedom permitted?
I got your question. So now let me give the clear point of what's happening here, my dear Salohiddin. So look, the thing is, you are maybe you didn't get the question clearly, I mean the topic overall. Here today we're prioritizing which one is more important. I never said in my speech that we don't need any security. I said too much, I mentioned somehow too much security is bad, the freedom is better, but the thing is, there is no security without freedom. Freedom is the fundamental core of your security. Because if the country is not free, if there are catastrophic actions taking place, you won't be able to secure yourself in any case. Like, no matter what you do, you won't be able to do that. So to conclude my point, freedom is the core of security. And as my colleagues are telling, security serves for freedom, not vice versa. Thank you.
Thank you for the speakers, and we move on, welcoming Mr. Salohiddin, body speaker number 2 from Falcons team.
As discussed, the topic here today is regarding freedom or security. Which one is more paramount for people? Which one is more important regarding the quality of human life? Okay? See, I like to give a good analogy, actually. Who here thinks it's a good idea to be healthy? Right? We can all generally agree on that, yes? All right? So, if you were given a choice to be healthy or unhealthy, you will always choose healthy. Absolutely, like with 100 out of 100 times, okay? Now, what do you need in order to be healthy, okay? You need a diet and a good exercise regimen. Uh-oh, that sounds a lot like rules and security, doesn't it? Now, you see, when you're on a diet, for example, you have to restrict certain unhealthy foods and you have to consume certain healthy ones, okay? We don't call this lack of freedom to eat junk food, okay? My colleagues here, if it was up to them, you would eat junk food every day. But what you don't realize is how terrible that would be for you, of course, okay? So this is simply called dieting, not lack of freedom to eat whatever it is that you wish. In the same way that for a high quality body and a high quality mind, you must be healthy and you must have rules for yourself, you also need, in order to have a perfect society, a good society, a healthy society, you need security and rules. Okay? So let's delve further into this topic, right? Me, myself, as my colleague had introduced, I lived most of my life in the US. My English is actually better than my Uzbek. That's not the reason I'm speaking English, it's because the rules are here, okay? So, now, me personally, in my experience, because I've lived here and I lived there as well, I specifically lived in the state of California. You see, in California, not just in California actually, in the whole United States, the crime in the USA is 4 times higher than that of Uzbekistan. Now imagine, so we're comparing a first world country and a third world country, right? And the first world country has far more crime. Now, when we look at freedom indexes, alleged freedom indexes, you will see that people will claim that the US is more free. Okay, fair enough. Let's say it is, right? This exact, quote, freedom is what actually allows this crime to run rampant and to run free. Okay? I'll give you an example. See, in the US, for example, it's very common if someone is to commit a crime, they are released early, okay? They don't actually complete their sentence, right? Versus, let's take 2 countries that I'd like to compare. First, Singapore, and the second being the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, okay? In these countries, for example, in Singapore, you cannot even get chewing gum, okay? Why? Because there's certain hazardous things that can happen. For example, on the metro, sensors can be blocked by chewing gum, okay? Yet, when we look at happiness indexes and drug use indexes, we will see that places like Singapore and the UAE, which mind you have very strict rules such as the death penalty, have far happier residents, not only far happier residents, but have absolutely little to no drug use. Versus in the US, more than 55% of people are on some sort of antidepressants. Is that your freedom? Is that a free society? Right? So let's look even further into this topic, right? When you take into consideration, for example, what is the average intelligence of a person, okay? Now, for example, let's say you have a ship. You know, back in the day, 300-400 years ago, you needed, for example, to go across the sea, you needed a ship. Imagine you have two options to pick, okay? You can pick some random person from the street to control your ship and take you on your journey. Or second, you can pick a captain with 30 years of experience riding ships. Which one would you pick? Captain or the random person? Bias. Propaganda. Lush. Okay? No. Let's be honest. If you two go on the random person ship, you won't come back. We'll go on the captain ship and we'll make it back. Okay? So, check this out. No, it's not more. It's more interesting for 30 seconds until the ship sinks. Okay? So, not really, no. You would, of course, rationally, if you aren't a student of Mr. Mike, you will pick the captain, right? Oh, okay, of course. Oh, of course you don't, yes. You would naturally pick the captain, right? In the same way, when it comes to freedom and democracy, right? Socrates, who is the father of Western philosophy, he was a Greek philosopher, he actually spoke out against democracy and freedom, right? When you give people too much freedom, they actually don't know what to pick, okay? And I actually have an example to tell you guys. In 2016, for example, you had in Britain, there was a vote. There is the European Union, right? In the European Union, there's many European countries. In 2016, Britain voted to leave the European Union. One day after the vote, the biggest search on Google in the UK was, what is the European Union? People don't actually know what they want if you give them freedom. Instead, they must be guided using security and rules. That's always why you always require someone who is competent enough, someone who is able to rule a country. They should be the one to rule the country. And not only that, certain rules must be put in place to not allow people to make random decisions, such as the EU vote that I showed you, and completely ruin the future of their country without even knowing what it is that they're voting for. Okay? And when we look into the examples, I have these articles, you can look them up yourself. You can compare crime and quality of life in countries such as Singapore and the UAE, and you can compare it to the absolute horrendous quality of life in the USA. Take it from me, okay? Gun violence is one of the highest problems in the USA, in which I'd like to actually continue on before I move to my next point. See, my colleague asked Mr. Dior about gun violence in schools. And Mr. Dior's response was effectively about something along the lines of, even with complete freedom, it doesn't create even with complete security, it doesn't guarantee that people will be safe. Actually, I would argue against this because he used the example of John F. Kennedy and how he was assassinated. What a lot of you don't actually know is the fact that John F. Kennedy, his assassination was set up by his vice president. John F. Kennedy's presidential administration did not have the right security to stop his vice president from setting up his assassination. So as you can see, I'm actually using your point against you. You actually need security in this kind of case. Furthermore, Mr. Dior, my colleague here, provided the example of the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and how this was due to limiting people's freedoms. You see, the problem actually, and I think we should actually go over maybe some history here. The reason the Ottoman Empire collapsed was actually due to too much freedom, right? There were multiple rebellions in the Middle East, in the Caucasus, and in Eastern Europe because the Ottoman Empire specifically relaxed their security rules. And that's why they collapsed. So lack of security actually leads to the destruction of people and empires. Finally, I'd like to end with this note. We talked about, for example, too much security being given to people and how it allows them to act in an animalistic way and how it doesn't actually allow them to control themselves, right? Yes, please, come on up. Please hold this for me, my dear brother. So my colleague here, he said how, in the rebuttal against Mr. Firdavs, he mentioned that people, for example, naturally, they usually go to the bathroom and they, relieve themselves. If You do not control them, right? They can just go and pee on the streets if there's no rules. But we have security, we have rules that we all follow, so we all go to the bathroom. Let me show you what happens when you give people too much freedom. In the city of San Francisco, 2 hours away from where I grew up, this is a map of the amount, and again, sorry, this is gonna be a little bit unprofessional. Every single dot on this map is an example of a homeless person who pooped on the street. Okay? This is what happens. This is what happens when you give people too much freedom. Because, by the way, with these homeless people, right, they actually give them the syringes. Please get off my stage. They give them the syringes, right, in order to be able to do their drugs. And because there's no public facilities, they relieve themselves in the street. These people, what they want is this in Tashkent. They want you to be able to use the bathroom on the street. Okay? This is what freedom represents. That's why we are against this. I am talking for you guys, for the people, right? We want security so we don't have this problem on the streets.
We have a question. We have a question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Okay. My lovely toilet makers. So, one second. So, that was lovely, but I wrote out of topic. I do believe, and our team does believe that you're going a little bit out of topic, but it's our opinion. That's okay. So, my question is, before giving the question, I just need to explain it. Uzbekistan had no freedom in the recent past. I would like to say recent past because some countries achieved this independence and freedom much earlier than Uzbekistan. So, my question is, why do you believe Uzbekistan got freedom, which represents the independence, of USSR? Wasn't it better to just sit with the secured Russian way? That's my question.
Okay, give me a second.
A few moments later.
If you could please repeat your question.
Sure. To make it short, why do you believe Uzbekistan got freedom? Wasn't it better to be secured by USSR?
So, when certain countries are subject to colonization, such as Central Asia was, to Russian aggression and expansion, they are usually exploited by their colonizers. For example, Uzbekistan used to have far more forests and far more water before the period of colonization. As you all know, for example, the Aral Sea is now dry due to Russian colonization. You see, in 1991 or 1992, somewhere along those lines, the security apparatus of the Uzbek SSR, the president, the generals, and so on, they saw how useless the Russian government was and how it didn't have Uzbek interests in mind. And in order to secure the future of the Uzbek nation, they declared independence. You see, when you allow colonizers, such as the USSR, too much freedom to do whatever it is that they want with their subjects, you get chaos and destruction. That's why we had the ecological tragedies that we had in Central Asia. You see, the whole point of Uzbekistan becoming independent was for security, was to secure ourselves from any potential aggressor, and was to secure our safety for the rest of our time. This is why it's important for us to be independent, and I believe us being independent is actually better for our security.
Thank you. Thank you.
So from Mentor's team, we are giving the stage to our conclusion speaker, Mr. Firdavs.
It feels good to be here, honestly. So, first of all, I really want to change the rules of the game here. First of all, let's chill, okay? Let's chill, calm down, okay? Calm down. It feels like it's not a debate. It feels like we're like fighting for our lives or something. Let's take some moment to breathe. Huh? Let's do that. Come on, 1, 2, 3. Feels better, right? Now, with a clear mind, let's talk. All right, like I want to do that. I don't want to be shouting. I don't want to be like convincing people with my voice. I want to be convincing people with my mind. That's what I'm here for. And just let me take my time, as I am a conclusion speaker. Unlike the other conclusion speaker, I'm gonna be focusing on my words, on meaning, on what I mean and what it stands for. First of all, what's the point? What's the point of what? What's the point of this whole thing? When we really know that, we do know that, right? No, we don't. We know that security serves for freedom. We know that. Why should you be free? Because you should be able to enjoy your freedom. And why do you need security? So that nobody distracts you, so that nobody, bothers you when you're enjoying it. Like, let's imagine a playground with a lot of little kiddos walking around having fun, and they're like enjoying their lifetime of childhood. And what's going on there? There might be some vandals, or there could be a chance of, I don't know, a tree falling down on their heads. And why do we need security? To eliminate a potential threat of those vandals, of that piece of, wood that may possibly harm them. This is what security is, which I truly believe what my opponents misunderstood. Let me explain it. Let me teach you. I'm good at that. So, what is security and what is rules? Let me just go to the dictionary. I'm gonna save some time, okay? And I'm gonna save some hassle of misunderstanding that. What is security? Security is protecting. What is rules? Rules is limiting. Do you see the difference? There is a huge difference. Do you see that? Do you see that they're different? Tell them. Tell them, it's different. It's different. When we secure something, we protect it. When we enact rules, we limit it. But the topic is clearly not about limiting, not about putting restrictions on what people can do and cannot do. It's more about how it should be about letting people free and securing them when they are enjoying their freedom. So I think it stands for itself. It's self-obvious. It speaks for itself. It sells for itself, doesn't it? It is so obvious that there is no point in even discussing it. And I don't want to make it about ChatGPT found information. I'm going to make it about life. So let's look at it. Let's forget about data, organizations, armed attacks, like whatever that you have never seen in your entire life, that you're talking happens as if every day. First of all, my team member, my brother mentioned, Mr. Dior, that life is meaningless completely, totally without freedom. Because if you look at ancient empires, they collapsed for a single reason of they were not set free. They were not set free to evolve, to improve, to innovate. Everything was like, why do we have the word monarchy or something? Why do we have even those words? If they were like all free and too free, in fact, that simply doesn't make sense. They failed simply because their limits were too much. They were over limited. And according to other idea, that history shows that freedom was the reason, empires collided. And on top of that, that security, as we understand it properly, not as a limitation, but we understand it as a protection. When people are protected, that gives people in search of malfunction a huge weapon of using it against you. And I see no reason why it doesn't make sense. It makes the perfect sense to me. Is it just me, or does it make perfect sense to everybody? Like security, right? Security, what's that? Instagram, Telegram, everything. What do they have? They have everything about you, ranging from your address to your choices of preference. So they have everything. How can it be not used without your consent? It can be sold, it can be, it can eventually cause, that security thing can eventually cause you a life. Cost you a life, basically. So that's what we think. It's gonna give them just an arm, just a weapon that can be possibly used against us. And history proves it. Don't get me really started on history. And now moving on to the counter arguments on behalf of my opponent team. I'm gonna start from Mr. Behruz. So basically, first of all, brother, chill. Put that little knife in your pocket. That cuts nothing more than a paper. And they can use it to kill each other and everything, but I'm gonna just prove it, It doesn't mean rules, limits, not letting people do something is gonna do nothing more than just, unpleasant society. Because look at what encyclopedia really says. It's about all history. It's about us. It's a book of human species and their evolutions, and I'm so grateful I have read it recently. By 10,000 years ago, one species were left out of 9. When there was no reason to commit any genocide, to commit any chaos, where there was no reason to do that. Nobody was using that little knife actually. It was all good. Everybody had an abundance of resources and everything. It was like a dawn of civilization. And then what happened? Only because people have intrinsic tendency to commit mass extinctions, they continue doing that, isn't it? It's what people are born with. We killed the mammoth, we killed the animals, we killed the plants, we killed the forests, and we still continue doing that. And half of it doesn't even have a reason. It's just competing for territory, competing for dominance. There are even thousands of more cases why these kind of accidents, little accidents, happen for not an obvious reason. They just happen because of what human nature is. That's what they automatically do. And then your little example about pee is, I have no idea. I really don't want to mention that. But in general, this is what happens. This is what's going on. And moving on to the point of Mr. Salohiddin, that diet is needed for a healthy body and rules are needed for a healthy brain. That's what I generalized it, honestly. And yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense until you understand it. When you understand it, it really doesn't make sense, because why are we even talking about rules here? I don't get it. This is the single point I have no idea about. Why are we talking about rules? Why isn't it about security? Security is, again, one last time, let me prove it. Let me settle it. Let me make it legit. Security is protecting. Security isn't limiting. It's protecting. Security actually stands for freedom. Why? Security happens. You can do whatever you want. And I know the word whatever sounds, really, it comes off too strong, but let's generalize it. You can do anything you want. And then keeping you safe while you're doing it is security. All right? Not letting you do that is not security. That's called limiting. That's called suppression. That's called choking human freedom. That's a totally different thing. I would be proud to lose the debate if the topic was different, because topic is really what I am talking about now. Security. One last time, please remember, security is you do what you want and they provide you're safe when you do it. That's what security is. Not letting you do that is not security. And that's why we all believe that those talks are out of really place, out of this topic. So, to conclude, I think we all can agree that freedom is why we live for. Freedom is what we want. This is what people since ancient civilizations have been striving for. This is why we have so many inventions. This is why, think how many inventions you can name that was done for the sake of protecting, and how many inventions were made for the sake of having more comfortable, freer, and more relaxed life. I honestly think people try to be more free rather than safe, because when you are safe, you're gonna be free, and when you're free, you're gonna be safe. That's I think, one way or another, anytime, anywhere, everything people do is just to let them enjoy what they do. So it serves to let you be free. And eventually, I think we should all agree that freedom is what we want, freedom is what we like, and freedom is what we try to have forever in our entire life. Thank you for attention.
Now, let's welcome the last speaker of Falcons team and in general today's debate, conclusion speaker, Mr. Abdulmalik.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this debate. First, I have to say that this is a very ferocious debate. We're really enjoying it. Whatever we're going through, we're really enjoying this debate. But focusing on the topic, I've got a lot of words to say. I hope you guys are all ears. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the topic is, which is more important, freedom or security? And the question is, which is more important, freedom or security? And that's right, you guys highlighted this, which is more important. And we say that security is more important because we already proved it. and the audience saw that. When some arguments not understood well enough, they go for out of topic. And debate is a battle of words. What I'm gonna say is now explain why it's not out of topic too. And I just want you guys to be open-minded, everyone. Open-minded, as he said, Firdavs said, chill, calm down, and let's take a breath, and then let's start. Well, first of all, I'd like to mention that today our teammates, Abbos, Behruz, Salohiddin, thank you guys a lot, my teammates, because they provided the best case against the fact that freedom is over security. If you listen carefully, there were many arguments about different things. First, I'd like to highlight what Abbos has said about the definition of the topic, which is more important, security or freedom. And the topic was that security, he highlighted, is on the aspect of mainly four things. It's security of a person, security of a building, security of an organization, and security of a country. We are talking about this, right? And we've got some smart people out there in the opposing team who are going to teach us about the definition of the security or freedom. And let me highlight this point here. However smart you are, you have to understand that you said rules are off topic. They said that we're talking about rules and this is out of topic. This is not. I got the point that actually there's a difference between limiting and protecting. But if you remember, Salohiddin mentioned about how animalistic people can get. Do you know there are different people in the world? Have you ever seen on social media, TikTok or Instagram, when some guys from the suburban area doing crazy cringe stuff in front of a camera? Have you ever seen? That time, one thing comes to my mind. So if we don't control people, they do whatever they want. And protecting and limiting here, this is the point here. Protecting and limiting. It's possible to protect only by limiting. There's no way of protecting without limiting. I know this sounds, repetitive, but the point is here. I want to talk about what Mr. Dior has mentioned about too much data, about the social media. We do admit that in Uzbekistan specifically, if you saw, there are too many cameras outside. And this is just Uzbekistan. I think everybody knows the country of China, where there are too many cameras, security cameras. You might think, well, a lot of people know my data and I feel threatened. Excuse me. There are more than 8 billion people in the world. Not controlling and just giving freedom to them and just protecting them is not enough, because there are too many people in the world. Uzbekistan has 37 million people in the world, in this world. Can you imagine? This is a lot of people. No control means too much data. And that's why we need too much data. Do you know that in 2020 quarantine period, there was a thing called TikTok? Remember that, right? A lot of people started watching TikTok, getting crazy about it, right? And did you know that 1.5 years ago, United States of America banned TikTok? USA banned TikTok, a Chinese social media company. My point here is that if you're saying that there's too much control by social media, Instagram, and our data is there too much to the control of the government. The point is that, first of all, there's no security against those companies. That's the first point. That social media companies are not well controlled by other countries and the government. That's the point. There's no protection of human rights in this context. China, again, in China, the TikTok was launched. After 2 years, USA banned TikTok. Now they're happy, they're now using TikTok. So if we feel threatened, our government just basically has to ban it. And banning and limiting are the only way of protecting people from a possible danger. This is the only way. Now, moving swiftly on to the introduction speaker of the opposing team. Murodjon mentioned about Abraham Lincoln quote, and then he talked about walking and running as much as you want in the park. Do you remember that? And you know the point that running as much as you want and walking around in the park, yeah, we all do. Thanks to? Oh my God. Okay, so the point here is that Firdavs mentioned no security, no freedom. Did you mention that? You mentioned this. Obviously you mentioned, if you guys remember, he mentioned there's no security, no freedom. But he just corrected it. He said that security is actually protecting And we do admit that protection is important only by limiting it, because there are too many people and you don't know how animalistic they can get. And that was proven by our speakers. Through security comes freedom, he told. So, and that's right. Mr. Dior mentioned about cage, birds, and there's a huge difference between animals and the people. Although animals can get wild and people also can get wild too. That's the only context that they can be the same as. And I can confidently here say that 100%, and you Google it, you go for ChatGPT, ask it, 100%, we are living in the most, how do we say, peaceful era in the world. There were too many wars, there were too many conflicts, and we are right now living in the most peaceful world because there's advanced technological systems that feel us secure, that keep us secure. That's the only point. And if there was no security and just freedom, there would no be borders, for example, in the countries, and we would just go anywhere and going wild and terrorist attacks and everything would happen. And to come to the last, that's Mr. Mike Nixon. I do appreciate your Indian accent, brother. So that was cool. We liked it. He talked about Uzbekistan, free country because it's secure. Right? You said it's a free country because it's secure. Wait. Oh. No. You were saying during your speech that Uzbekistan is a free country. You were saying to the public. Isn't it the opposite? Okay, we got okay. Uzbekistan has got its constitution, and constitution has a set of rules and guidelines. Again, I'm going to go to the point that rules and guidelines is the security. That's how people feel secure. Because we got the rules. I know they may not work 100%, but we've got the rules, and these rules keep us safe and secure so that we can practice freedom. We cannot practice freedom without security. The Constitution says that. Religious books says that security is the most important thing. There are a set of disciplines and rules to feel that we are secure. We must be protected. And now, again, I repeat, debate, guys, is a battle of words. But here, logic should work hard. Do you understand? That logic should work hard. And the point is that, again, it goes to the definition. That security is protecting, yes, but only by limiting with set of rules and guidelines. So at the end of the day, I just want to finish my speech by saying that, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your freedom under our security. Take care.
Yeah. Dear student, how many students are here? Can you raise your hand? Students, any active or just graduated, got their IELTS certificate? Students, yes. Students, look at these faces, including my face. So look, these are your mentors. Yeah, get up, people, come on. We are here to present you a very good debate. And you have to be proud of your teachers because we are proud of you. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, so that's why, look how passionate we are. So we want to share this with you. That's why today we had this wonderful debate. No hard feelings, people. So,
Falcons are competitive.
Now I just want to hear the loud applause. So who won?
Don't be biased,
It's just
people.
for the camera. So, guys, give some applause. Okay, for Falcons. Don't fake it, don't fake it. And it's time to give loud, clear, and unstoppable applause to mentors. Don't stop, don't stop. All right, guys, thank you very much. It was wonderful. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you loved it. And please comment on social media like Telegram, Instagram. If you like this event, we're going to take the next step in the future ahead. And now it's really time to announce the winners, right? Winners.